I've had to go get these blinds trimmed down for some of these windows fucking like 3 different times.
Really?
Well, because some of the windows it's an old house. It's got new windows, but some of the window sills are like all fucking like not perfectly even. So it's like 24 at the top, 23 and a half in the middle by the time, and then it expands back down to 24 at the bottom. So I got to get it cut for the smallest part of the fucking window.
Yeah.
And I still got 3 that I got to get right. So I got to go back there and have them trim them again. Fuckers. All right, here we go. All right, welcome everybody. This is the Marvel Minute. Me and Trevor are back together and coming at you guys for Infinity Countdown Prime #1, which won our vote this week over, well, I think I threw Venom up there and Astonishing X-Men possibly.
No.
I could totally be wrong though as well. Well, Avengers I put up there, I think. Was it Avengers?
It might have been. I'm checking right now.
I usually don't make us do too much extra work than what we're also going to cover on Marvel Madness. So I know it's between those 4 because those are what we're covering this week.
Venom and Avengers, yep.
Yeah. So just quick change of plans too. We're not going to cover Venom on the podcast. We're going to do Amazing Spider. I didn't know it was part 3 of this X-Men crossover they're still dealing with. So yeah, we're changing plans there. But anyway, this is Infinity Countdown Prime #1, chosen by you guys, the voters, written by Jerry Dugan, art team of Mike Deodato Jr. and Frank Martin. Nice, easily named cast this week. Take it easy on my my tongue there, my pronunciations. It's a Marvel Comics production, of course. And we'll get into the blurb here, spit the bit about the book, and then let you guys know you should buy it, borrow it, or forget it altogether. We're almost there, folks, when the Infinity Stones most likely start getting assembled in both movie and comic book form. Both equally exciting, but it means for the most part big trouble for our heroes. Let's face it, the good guys never end up with these things for very long before they fall into the hands of somebody very, very, very bad. So let's jump in here and see what's going on. So yeah, this is a Prime issue. You're kind of, as it's labeled, you're getting a primer for this event that's about to start beginning of March. I think first week of March is when the first issue comes out of Infinity Countdown. And yeah, we're being reminded of where all these gems are, who has them, and what's going on with them. And fortunately for me, we start things off with Wolverine because those little teasers in the back of the book just haven't been doing much for me at all. But here here he's somewhere in the woods of Canada, kind of back home, and he's just chilling, having a drink. Wanders upon this wolf who he kind of scares off because he knows something is coming, and he's suddenly surrounded by a bunch of different kind of Ultron drone bots who kindly ask him to hand over his Infinity Stone that's in his possession, or else they're going to kill him and take it by force. Get some perfectly classic Wolverine dialogue here that Dugan does pretty well, if you ask me, and Wolverine pretty much laughs at the threats and then starts attacking these different versions of Ultron bots coming at him. Pretty much takes them all down with relative ease, and then ends up confronting our buddy that we've run into a couple times since Legacy started, up to various shenanigans, and that's Loki. One of the cool things in the fight scene was you see Wolverine kind of use the Infinity Gem that he's come into possession of. He's got which one? The space one, right?
Yeah. So you can teleport.
Yeah, so he's using it to kind of, better these Ultron bots. But then when he stumbles upon Loki comes up to him right away and cuts his face with a dagger, wanted to make sure he was the real deal Wolverine, since there's a lot of imposters, quote unquote, running around nowadays. And, as a result of being cut across the face and Loki saying, I wanted to make sure you were real, he then takes his this is my favorite page in the book.
I love that too.
He takes his claws, jams them up underneath Loki's throat. So he's got like one pulling his eyeball out, He's like, oh, I just wanted to make sure you were you. So, you know, they're even. Loki ties like a handkerchief around his now disfigured face. And these
really
two have
graphic.
a quick yeah, it reminds me straight up of Old Man, you know, because Deodato did a lot of Old Man Logan, especially recently. Like one of the panels there. And that book's just, you know, a little more graphic. I didn't really expect eyeballs to be popping out in Infinity Countdown. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, they really zoomed in on like the blade going through the eyeball and blood just pouring down.
It's one of my favorite Marvel pages in a long time. Like I don't know what it costs. Those original art pages always cost way more than I would end up liking to pay for one, but I would buy this one and put it like next to my desk. I really like it. You know, just on top of it being one of my favorite characters, Wolverine, you know, it's you see his face, you see his power, it's all in one page. That'd just be something cool to own. But anyway, him and Loki start having this talk, and Loki's kind of saying the same thing to him, just not as threatening as the Ultron bots were. He's like, you know, Logan, you can't be running around with a goddamn Infinity Stone or gem or whatever the fuck. I have it like labeled different throughout my notes here. Every time I write stone, the next time I write gem. So I'm going to just be saying them interchangeably. But he's like, you basically can't be walking around with this thing. You're going to bring hell to earth. You're going to bring, you know, cosmic powers down here that you don't want to deal with. And Logan essentially says to him, he's like, I'm going to use this to kind of finally help mutants not be shit on. And he's like, you know, if people come, because Loki makes a reference to him just hiding it in his pocket. He's like, I got other pockets too, bub, is something along those lines. Yeah, I got more pockets, bub, is the line he says. But before he uses the stone to just vanish in front of Loki. And then Loki, all frustrated as shit, has a good line here. He's like, I got more pockets, bub. He's like, you're more preposterous than my brother. Ends up killing kind of this Terminator-esque scene, the Ultron bot crawling to him.
Well, he says he's more maddening than his brother. That he does the I got more pockets, bub. How preposterous! I love that he's just like mocking him, like what a douchebag.
Yeah, that was a good line. I know, I really liked it. And then this part at the end kind of confusing. I don't really know if Loki's just giving up or he's just like, well, I guess I'm going to have to fight whatever's coming down. Where he says, whatever's going to come from the stars, I say, let the coming void take us all. I guess I should just take the hard road. Is he going to fight or is he just going to take off? What'd you understand from that?
I think it means he's going to have to not be sneaking around and he's just going to have to man up and
just
do
start
it the hard way.
Pulling these stones out of people's hands and not asking nicely, you know, something like that.
Yeah. He's got to do something, or maybe get somebody on his side that's going to help him get them.
He still visited in that legacy issue, that Celestial. That was underground, and I wonder if that's going to come into play when finally shit starts hitting the fan, and Loki's going to kind of be a hero that way, if he has control of that thing or something.
Everywhere he showed up in,
I know,
fucking Spider-Man, Doctor Strange. He was even in Guardians with the Gardener. Like he's been everywhere. Like he knows what. Like
I think they're about to. I kind of sense a full hero turn coming his way. Like you know what I'm saying? Like, I know he's up to shady shit, but I feel like even though he goes about it in a shady way, he's going to do something by the end of this event that's really going to kind of like push him towards the hero, because a lot of people like him in the movies and shit like that. I just kind of get the feeling.
If anything, like I could see him being kind of like a goofy version of Doctor Doom. Like if he had the power to take over the world or like remake it the way Doom did, he would do it in a good way. Like everybody would be okay, but he'd still be like in charge.
Yeah, like he would be the ruler of it all somehow, kind of. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what we got going on there, and then we kind of end the Wolverine and the Loki stuff, and you know, that was pretty much my favorite part of the issue. Kind of the most story you get as we then start revisiting. Or not revisiting, but visiting the different locations and seeing who's in possession of the other stones. Now, I don't know how much Miss Marvel you've been reading, but she's in possession of the Reality Stone, and it just looks like throughout different
Captain Marvel,
different Captain Marvels have this, right? Is that what you're getting to?
Yeah, the way they explain it
Yeah.
in the narration, like in
No
other
matter what
realities,
reality basically you're in, it's like a Captain Marvel
different
has
versions.
a reality stone. Yeah.
Do you know what I like about this? They show, they show Carol Danvers, then they show the old school Captain Marvel. For some reason, they show Spectrum because I think for amount of time she went by Captain Marvel too. But then when you go to the right, it's like cut off at the edge of the panel, and the costume kind of looks like Captain Marvel, like Shazam. Did you notice that?
It's like a definitely a Shazam costume. Like I was gonna say Superman, but they got the pirate boots on like Shazam, you know?
Yeah, and he's got the cape. He's got the longer cape, and then he's got the little bit like hoodie little part of the cape
and
too.
The cape's
and then
even got like yellow on the back of it, kind of like a Superman.
So I was like, that looks like Captain Marvel's costume. So it's like all different universes. Captain Marvel's finding Infinity Stones.
Yeah, and then we go on to what kind of has been going on in the Guardians book that just ended, and Peter definitely knows where this. Which one is this? The Power Stone is. And instead of the Power Stone being obviously a stone, the tiny stone that you could hold in your hand, it's essentially the size of a mountain. Since reality has been reformed, and the Nova Corps with Drax they're watching it, but they have the Chitauri and the Raptors coming down on their tail as the Guardians. As the Guardians try to figure out what their next move is. Gamora wants to go after the Soul Stone to, get the piece of her back that's stuck inside of it. And Peter's trying to kind of nudge her towards taking care of this group problem once and for all because he's still fucked up a little bit, even though he's slightly bigger than he's been. Moving on, we go on then to Planet Scar and how they mention this is the possible location of the Time Gem, right? Is that the one?
Yeah, it's the Time Gem.
Because this planet was destroyed long ago and should not be here in this reality. So then we conveniently end up checking in as we zoom in on the planet, see this Thing-esque Fisk pop up from the ground, but it's not Thing, it's Super Skrull. Call Art, whatever the hell his name. I can't. KLRT. Colt.
Can't do it. I can't do scroll names. They're all
fucked up. Either, man.
Letters, apostrophe, letters like that.
Yeah. and literally not a vowel in the bunch. You got all consonants there. So really fucked up. But
you know what's cool? You know what I liked about this? They really throw you off on the cover when it shows like Thing's arm. Yeah. And you never think for a second, like, oh yeah, Super Skrull.
Yeah. I actually got. I don't request covers usually at my shop, but I ended up getting one of the variants, and mine's got Logan on it with the gem in his hand.
Oh, that was a cool one. I like that one.
Yeah, I got that one. So yeah, the Super Skrull has the Time Gem, and he's talking about how he has plans to rewrite all the embarrassments that the Skrulls have suffered at the hands of all the heroes and just all the different cosmic disasters they've been a part of, basically. But moving on, we keep checking in on different parts. Did you want to say something there? My bad, I cut you off.
No.
Then we go on to what we just read in the Adam Warlock issue that came out a few weeks ago, where we see Warlock popping out of the tomb conveniently just when Kang wanted him to. He asks what year it is. A boy around in the area taking off mentions 2018 as he seemingly flees for his life. And Adam's like, perfect, wonderful. We're reminded that Thanos has control of the Chitauri, took control of them. I think that was in his book, right?
Yeah, it happened in the beginning of the Donny Cates run.
Yeah,
I think it was the first issue.
And then we end up checking in on Magnus, and he was mentioned in the Adam Warlock issue, but they did not show him. I don't recall. Magus is his name.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, he was mentioned. This is the first time we're seeing him really kind of in this rundown of events, and he's got the head of this, cosmic being called the Contemplator. They're kind of going back and forth, and Magnus Magus, whatever the fuck his name is
Yep.
basically, he's like, let Thanos come. I'm ready for him. He has current possession of the Soul Stone. And as he's talking all this shit, he's getting snuck up on by the Hank Pym version of Ultron, kind of half and half Two-Face thing he's got going on here. And he punches him right through the back, through the chest. So he basically like disembowels the dude. He nails the ground. So Magus is no longer a threat. And the Contemplator is basically, as Hank bends down to pick up the stone, like, you can still be redeemed. Mentioning that to Ultron, which he obviously doesn't like, but blows this head away. And which all leads to our eventual cliffhanger of Hank Pym inside this Soul Stone and ending up running into Gamora as Ultron is in possession of the stone itself. You see Hank inside of it. So a pretty cool turn of events there. You get the maybe idea that Hank has some way to come back. Might be kind of like Cyborg, just with the opposite side of his face back.
But Ant-Man I think it's weird that he's in the Ant-Man costume.
Yeah, in the soul gem.
Soul Stone. Yeah. I think the last time we saw him, he was Yellow Jacket.
Yeah, he was before he ended up going into the sun with Ultron or whatever happened where they combined. That happened in an OGN. It was so weird because everybody was unsure if that was canon or not, and then he started coming around in the comics. So I guess it was.
It was in Rage of Ultron?
Yeah,
if I remember.
It never came out in individual issues. It just was released as an OGN. So everyone, that's why everyone was a little thrown off, because everyone's always kind of like middle ground on if those are continuity or not, but it kind of leans towards Marvel saying yes, because the Spider-Man one with his quote unquote sister, that was. And so yeah, I guess, read those if you've been ignoring them.
Rage of Ultron's worth the time.
Yeah, I never read it, but I knew the developments that came out of it, because I was kind of big into the Avengers books at that time. But
it's basically the 7 to Eternity creative team doing an Avengers book.
Yeah, I like that team. That's cool.
Yeah, it's a good team.
But yeah, so that's the end of this book. There's a few extra pages at the end, which are very helpful if you're new to this whole Infinity Stones nonsense. They go through and explain the power of every stone. There's a circuit in the beginning of the book to show you how they all quote unquote work together and how they need each other to be, the most powerful weapon in the universe. And then you get a nice rundown of the continuity and history of the different stories that have involved the stones throughout really all of Marvel's time, pretty much. And then the last page is a summary of what we've just read in the previous 25 pages. So, if you don't want to read it, skip to the last page in the comic book store, find out who has what, and pick up issue 1 coming up. Yeah. But as far as buy, borrow, or forget goes, for me personally, I like this book a lot. Probably mostly because I got a perfect taste of Wolverine in the beginning, which I've been missing, like old classic Wolverine, talked like him, acted like him, fought like him. And that's what I really liked. And I got through the book really quick, because I was into it. I was hooked. I wanted to, obviously not reading every single book. All this stuff ties into, like, I've been reading Thanos and I've been reading some of Guardians and but I haven't been reading Captain Marvel. I haven't been reading whatever has been going on in Planet Hulk, obviously with Planet Scar and all the events there going on. So this is a good way to prime you up for the book coming out next month. And I'm usually not really high on Prime issues, but I feel like this one was done a little better than normal. So that's why I'm leaning towards buy, both art-wise and story-wise. Like usually it's a lot of stuff you already know, and I think that might be the case if you read every Marvel book, but I don't. So I found it informative and enjoyable with the history mixed in as well. I liked it. So what'd you think?
Yeah, I I really liked it a lot for a Prime issue too. You know, normally Prime issues take the time to tell a story that's full of a bunch of information that you already know, or that's not really going to further the plot for the whole of the event anyway. So they normally just they're kind of like a waste of money most of the time, or a recap for everybody not reading the books that are tied in. But he took the opportunity to not only like he used this to kind of tie everything, like all the threads that have been out there that we've been wondering about, to tie them all together and actually further the plot of the story, which, you know, he used the Prime issue for what it should be used for, which was really, really good. I loved the Logan stuff, just like you. The Turk thing, we were talking about that before we started recording. Like this douchebag, this.
Yeah, I think I even glossed over that. Did I forget to mention?
Yeah, you did gloss over.
It's like a one-page thing of him playing blackjack with the mind gem.
Mind gem.
And I had to look up Turk because I remembered the name. I'm like, why do I know that name? Now, I'm like, oh yeah, he's kind of like a daredevil bad guy a little bit.
Yeah, and if you've watched the Netflix shows and you watched Luke Cage, he was one of the cowardly guys who hung out. You know, he wants to be a gangster, but he's kind of a coward. He was in Defenders. He was in a lot of Luke Cage, but he's a goofball. I mean, I don't have much experience with him in the comics because he's like a minor, low-level, like D-grade, C-grade bad guy. But for some strange fucking reason, he got his mitts on an Infinity Gem, but stone, whatever. But yeah, I don't know how he got it or how that's going to play in or why he decided, but I think it's because Jerry Duggan always likes to make light in serious situations. Like most of his books are all around fun. Like he does have serious moments, but they're always like peppered with comedy. So maybe he's going to be that comedy aspect because he's kind of a goof.
He's not going to, once somebody with any sort of fucking power comes down, I think they're getting that right out of his hands quick.
Right out of his hands. He's in no position to defend himself unless he uses the stone. But I haven't been reading Captain Marvel, but I have been reading Captain Marvel, but I didn't read the last issue when she actually gets the stone. And the reason is because I want to say it's poorly written, but the dialogue is just plain old bad, and it's a hard book to get through. So this was a nice recap page, and it basically just gives you all you need. You don't have to read her books. Just know that she got it, and she got it from a different universe. That's all you need to know. You don't need to know anything more about her adventures of how she got it because the story was awful. And I liked seeing, the Guardian stuff was kind of like a little bit of a recap, but at the same time showing you that everything that was building in that run is gonna go haywire. And you especially see that in the preview for Infinity Countdown #1, with like fucking Star-Lord shooting his guns and shit. I didn't expect the Sakaar stuff and whatever the fuck his name is, Claret, whatever. Getting the time stone, because I thought the time stone was going to tie more into Thanos. Because
I know. Which one is he messing with in that book? Is there one in that book or
the
no?
Time Stone? Yeah, it's the time stone because he's in the future with King
maybe because
Thanos
it's in the future. It's not the one in the present.
Yeah. Maybe he'll get.
I fucking hate messing with future timelines. It puts my brain in a loop.
Maybe he'll find out like who had it or where they got it from. But I do like how they tied it into his own book and him taking over the Chitauri.
I don't see Thanos going back to the not to interrupt. I don't see Thanos going back to the present without a fucking gem he's that close to. You know what I'm saying?
Or something.
Even if it's himself with possession of the gem, like present Thanos self takes precedent over future Thanos self. I have a feeling in his mind. So
I know. Who knows how that story is going to go? I know that the older Thanos is more powerful, but I have no idea how that story is going to play out. It's
interesting.
It's a pretty crazy. Yeah, it is interesting. It's a pretty crazy story. But I really like the Hank Pym stuff. I like it. Everybody's always wondered, like, is he half Ultron? Is it Ultron just pretending to be Hank Pym? But then when he grabs that Soul Stone, and then Hank Pym shows up in the Soul World, I thought that was pretty cool and kind of gave us our answer. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like he's there somewhere. I just don't think he has much control.
Yeah. I hope we see him again too. Like I hope Hank Pym comes. He's one of the most underrated and underutilized characters in the Marvel universe. It depends. Like he only really shows up in Avengers books, and it's only when a writer is actually a fan of that character that
usually the older
up.
writers.
Yeah, it is.
The older guys, because he wasn't like, you know, a super prominent character for a long time there. But
no, it's only when people want him to be. And
yeah.
But I loved it. I love Deodato's art. It's as good as it always is. He never falters. The guy never has a moment where he's lagging. Like every panel has the amount of detail that the panel before it has. He never cheaps out on you. So it was a great book. It was a total buy for me. Prime issues usually suck, or Omegas or Alphas, but this was great. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I liked it too. So yeah, we recommend a buy for Infinity Countdown Prime. It is a little extra price, but you do get some cool extra stuff in there besides just the story. It makes it a little bit worth it, especially if you are not very educated on what gem is what. So this helps you out immensely as far as all that goes.
It really does.
But yeah, you guys looking for more of us? We got a couple more books to cover this weekend on the Marvel Madness Comics podcast. It drops usually Monday night, Tuesday afternoonish. But yeah, we will talk to you guys then, and until then, peace out.
Peace.